Hi guys, and welcome to my review of WrestleMania Night 2, which officially wrapped up WrestleMania for this year. And so this WrestleMania kicked off with Obafemi against Brock Lesnar, which we all kind of like went into knowing that this was going to be the case. And this was so obviously with this WrestleMania, there's been a lot of talk about how short the matches are. I have to say that kind of like on this was ended up being the shortest match. It ended up being like just under 5 minutes. It might even be like 4 minutes something. It was absolutely like one of the shortest matches that I can remember at WrestleMania. But it was just exactly what it needed to be, right? It was the one match I would say on the card that it kind of had permission to be as short as it was, right? It didn't need to be. So it was a match where I went into with a little bit of trepidation, okay, because I was basically on the road to WrestleMania. I was basically very much of a mindset of Obafemi has to win, right? This whole story has been like a real passing of a torch moment, and Brock Lesnar has done such a really good job of getting Obafemi over during this feud. And so yeah, I just thought, see it through. But I did have this apprehension of because this was during the first hour of WrestleMania, so over in America it was like the ESPN free TV during our first hour. I thought because maybe Brock Lesnar would appeal to a more broad sports audience, and also because there's been obviously in the whole rumor mill that obviously Gunther is going to retire Brock Lesnar. We'll get to that. Then I kind of thought, would that be tainted if Brock Lesnar got squashed here? Do you know what I mean? I mean, sure, like people had been figuring that maybe Gunther and Brock Lesnar would happen at SummerSlam, in which case there's plenty of time between now and SummerSlam, but you can build Brock Lesnar up to be the Beast incarnate again. But I did kind of like wonder, would it be somewhat sort of tainted if they had just seen Brock get squashed at WrestleMania. So I did kind of like, yeah, I did have this concern in my mind that Brock Lesnar was actually going to come out victorious here. So I breathed a sigh of relief, but that wasn't the case. We had Brock Lesnar get some offense here. We had Obafemi take numerous suplexes. He took a F5, just gets back up and just power bombs him. I think he choke slams him and then power bombs him, and that's it. Good night. And yeah, I just think that was just the best way of, we had just Obafemi taking obviously Brock Lesnar's best moves and just sort of getting up from it, and but then we had the shock where Brock Lesnar got very emotional. He took his boots off, he took his gloves off, and he announced his retirement. He had a very emotional embrace with Paul Heyman, where they were crying and hugging. And I think this was, and there's been to people who are kind of like expecting that this does not mean that it's the end. People are still expecting them to pull the trigger on Gunther and Brock Lesnar. I don't. I would be fine, like, if they follow that through, okay? But I don't. I but there's two sides to this, okay? I don't think that Gunther's career should be defined by like being like a career killer. I don't think that it's because I do think that it's a bit like what I was saying before about how they justified John Cena, getting retired the way he did. There was, there's an argument of, well, it's just kind of tradition. But then if you just kind of go, well, if it's just tradition, so that's what we're going to go with because that's just like sacred, then it sort of takes away the intensity. There was some sort of investment. There is a certain demographic that could maybe just go, well, why should I give a shit about this match? And because like we already know how it's going to go. So I do think that there is an element of that. And also, but just because of the way that this was executed, because of the way this retirement tour was executed, I because of how poignant it was, I don't I think it lands better if you just leave it and have it be that. And also I think that it's kind of like works better for WWE and the conversation surrounding it because basically it puts WWE in the place where they can sort of feel like, haha, we did work you. You were so confident this was where we were going and we'd just gone totally the other way. Like it will leave fans like us sort of going, well, what is Gunther's gonna be? What is gonna be Gunther's favour, right? And it just kind of creates maybe a bit more intrigue, and just as a content creator, that is kind of cool, Um, so yeah, I mean, while I would be fine with them kind of having Gunther and Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam, I am leaning towards just the way that this was executed. I am leaning towards. I think I would slightly prefer it if that wasn't the case, and if Gunther didn't get involved. There has been this rhetoric online as well that they're heading towards Gunther and Roman Reigns at some point. So at SummerSlam, there has been like it's online narrative, so I always take it with a pinch of salt. I don't really put any weight into it, but yeah. So yeah, basically, it's sort of like I would indicate that Brock and Gunther wouldn't be happening at SummerSlam, and unless they were pulling double duty. But like I said, I don't want to put any real kind of stock into that. Yeah, but like I said, it was a solid start. Obviously, the Brock retirement had put that big WrestleMania moment, a poignant moment. So yeah, I thought it was perfect. I thought it was a perfect way to open the show, and then so we then moved on to the six ladder tag match, the six ladder tag match. What am I talking about? The six ladder match for the Intercontinental title. So we had this six man ladder match between Penta, Javon Evans, Rusev, Dragon Lee, JD McDonough and Rey Mysterio, and I just feel like I went into this saying that this had the potential to be the best match of the night, maybe the best match of the event, just because of like what these six men could do in that sort of environment. And I stand by that, and I'm so happy after all the little criticisms of night one with how many matches were getting cut short. I just thought it was I just thought it was brilliant. I really did. I'm so happy that they gave these six men the space to breathe and showcase what they can really do in this environment. There was lots of to in and throw in. There was lots of close calls, and like I just thought that it was it was just wonderful. I really there were so many like crazy spots here. We had Penta basically delivering a Mexican destroyer JD McDonough, I think it was, off the ladder. We had Chevron Evans performing an OG cutter to Rusev from the top rope across to taking Rusev off the ladder. We also had the Rusev taking another bump where Rey Mysterio performed this like coast, this West Coast. Knocking him through this ladder. Just so many crazy spots, and it just was just wonderful. It was a absolute masterclass, and I cannot rate this match high enough. I think that if you just have 15 minutes free, I think that you should, absolutely go and see it, even if it's not your thing, because for me, it just kind of really cemented what I love about wrestling and why I can admire these guys so much, because it was just a pure masterclass. I thought it was one of those cases where I didn't really mind too much who won, but I do think that Penta retaining was the right decision, just because I think that the whole concept of Penta having the Intercontinental title just has legs. So yeah, I thought it was I thought it was just wonderful. I really did. You had then Chuck Williams taking on Sami Zayn for the US title. Again, similar to the old Liv Morgan and Stephanie Valkyrie thing. I felt like it was difficult to mess this match up just because I felt going into it, it was whether Sami Zayn retained or Chuck Williams won. I felt there was a solid argument you could make for either. I think that if you had Sami Zayn, like kind of turn heelish heel or leaning into that arc and winning by sort of nefarious means, or then I think that kind of worked. But I think if you went the other way and you had Sami Zayn losing the title here, which is what they did go, then I think that made a lot of sense in terms of how over Trick Williams is getting, but also for Sami Zayn with that sort of character arc that they're going, it could be just like the next domino. And we could sort of go down, we could see Sami Zayn kind of going down this sort of like downward trajectory in this sort of descent, kind of solidifying this heel turn. Yeah, I like I said, it was a short match, but I don't think it necessarily needed to be any longer than what it was. I think that it did everything it kind of needed to do, really. Like I said, I could have really watched it a bit longer, but I think unlike the match one, the night one card, I don't think that the matches that got kind of cut short here did at least as much damage to them as they did to the night one matches. So yeah, I thought it was fine. I think after the whole like explosive two match, I think that maybe we needed something that was a bit. I don't want to say no frills, but a little bit kind of like just sort of paint by numbers type thing, just maybe a breather. Yeah, and similar to the match that we got next with the Demon Finn Balor taking on Dominic Mysterio. Obviously, great to have the Demon back, but because of the Judgment Day element, I thought there was maybe a slight trepidation where the Demon Finn Balor was going to lose at WrestleMania again, which I just see was going to be a travesty. I think if they bring back the Demon Finn Balor and he loses again, then he should probably just pack up and just go to AEW or New Japan or somewhere, because it's game over. But yeah, again, like the Trick Williams and Sami Zayn thing, I think it could have easily gone on longer, but I don't think that the running time for this really hurt it neither. Obviously, this was a street fight, so we had this. So you had all of the things that kind of like incorporate that. And yeah, I think that in a way it was one of the ones that was easiest to predict or the easiest to book because yeah, I did like the fact that we didn't get a Judgment Day intervention here, but this was like really kind of like absent of really distractions and interferences, which I'll get onto a bit shortly when I talk about the main event. But yeah, it was nice that we just got this kind of nice, clean one-on-one, and yeah, so we basically had the Jade Cargill and Rhea Ripley match again. This is the only one where we did get a little bit of shenanigans, but still very minimal, like in terms of what consequences they had. It was a match that maybe because of a build that I was less invested in, but also there was this other element, and I do think it is still a problem. I did predict that Rhea Ripley was going to win, but that did end up being the case. But I did think that I think there is a problem here because Jade Cargill's run hasn't been great, but I don't think it's Jade Cargill's fault. I think it's just the state that the SmackDown women's roster is in at the minute, and I think they can get out of it. But it's sort of like it's one of those cases where switching the belts ain't going to kind of solve that problem. Do you know what I mean? Where it's sort of like, okay, if you put the title now on Rhea Ripley, but what are you going to do now with Rhea Ripley? Do you know what I mean? How are you expected the Rhea Ripley's title reign to be any different when the problems don't lie within the talent that's holding that title? You know, they go kind of beyond that. So I think there's ways you can alleviate it. I think that maybe buys into why people have been talking about maybe splitting Charlotte and Alexa up, or at least turning them both back heels, so that you've kind of got somebody for them to go against. I think that you could easily run Rhea Ripley, and obviously we know Rhea Ripley and Charlotte Flair have a really kind of fiery feud, so they could run that back. But yeah, so I'm down for it. Down for it. My predictions was that Bianca Belair was going to, but we basically were going to have Michin and BFAB kind of get involved. This is going to be a trigger for EO to get involved, and then we've seen in the build, there would just be the numbers game that would take over. So my prediction before WrestleMania was that Bianca Belair was going to come out to kind of even the playing field out, and there was going to be a springboard for obviously we had Bianca Belair announcing the pregnancy, so that threw that prediction out of the window. But also I felt really bad because when I was doing my review for WrestleMania Night 1, I totally forgot to talk about that. So I felt really bad about that. My only defense was that it'd been like a long weekend, so between like WrestleMania and work and being a dad and to the gym, like my brain was just half baked. So I basically just I like I said, so congratulations. So let me take this opportunity now to say, congratulations, Bianca. I wish you both all the best, and so this was kind of like so we basically had we did have Beef Up and Michin getting involved. We had EO Sky coming out, and we basically had and unfortunately we didn't have that case where the numbers game take over. We did have EO taking all out. This opened up for Rhea Ripley to pick up a win. The finisher was like a little bit messy, but I think it served the match well. Where basically Rhea went to pull Jade in the riptide, she got out of it, and she kind of countered it, and then the riptide again. Like it looked messy, but I think it elevated it. So to what we get in the main event here, it looked messy, but I think it worked because it gave that sort of illusion of kind of like being this dogfight. So yeah, I think that it worked. Like I said, we'll have to see kind of like how they alleviate the issues with the SmackDown title. Hopefully, they can turn it around and Rhea can have a solid title reign. But I did think that this was Jade's best match, maybe as well. So I think that she has definitely developed since she's come into WWE. So yeah, then we had a little bit of a spot beforehand with Danhausen, and as we had basically John Cena coming out to announce the attendance and all of that. We had the Miz and Kit Wilson come in and go, no, 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 we won at WrestleMania. We had then Danhausen coming out with all of these like mini Hausens. They came to the ring. They basically got into this altercation. Kit Wilson pushed one of the mini Danhausens over. We had basically one of the mini Danhausens kick Wilson in the nuts, and it was just we had John Cena just absolutely laughing his ass off throughout it because he gets it. He was just kind of like, oh, well, this is wrestling, folks. Yeah, I love what Danhausen brings. I really do. I love all that goofy stuff when it it's not out of place, and I think that it just absolutely was just wonderful. I think all of more serious stuff we had with the main event coming and with obviously Brock Lesnar's retirement and all of that. I thought that it was quite nice just to have a little bit of fun, silly, comedic kind of relief. Which I think Danhausen just brings like no other. So and also credits to the Miz here as well. I think that his work has been wonderful in this as well. Yeah, we had the main event here, which was just under like 40 minutes between CM Punk and Roman Reigns, and it was full throttle all the way. These guys just did not let up, and like I said, similar to what I said about the Rhea Ripley Jade Cargo match, I like the fact that they just had the illusion of just being a dogfight as well. Do you know what I mean? There was so much good storytelling here where you really bought into the hatred here. You had all these little spots where they were just constantly buying into some of the stuff that's been tapped in onto the feud with CM Punk saying like that Roman can get the job done without Samoan backup. We had Roman saying that CM Punk is old. All of those components moved, kind of played their part into this match. I thought it was fantastic. I really did. I thought it was like watching a mini movie. It really was. It was just so good, so exhausting to watch. Like I think every solid main event should be. I thought the storytelling really did elevate this. We had we still going into this feud, I wasn't really sure who was going to win it, and during this fight, I still wasn't sure who was going to win it. And I think that's just kind of props to the way that they executed this. We had CM Punk lift Roman up for a GTS, delivering the GTS. Roman being saved by falling onto the ropes. This just set up CM Punk for a second GTS over. He just and you go, if he delivers this, it's game, but he doesn't. He collapses. Roman, it's a spear. But I just thought it was wonderful, and there had been a lot of talk about there was going to be shenanigans here where maybe the Usos were going to get involved, maybe we're going to get the return of The Rock, and I just don't think that this is one of those cases where it really went back to you don't need all of these big returns, you don't need all these big surprises, you don't need all these big interventions to sell it. You can just be kind of go back to really basics and just go two of arguably the biggest stars that we have in the business now just going head to head, and you have no idea who's going to win. And some people be Team Roman, some people be CM Punk, and just kind of like we don't know which way it's going to go. And that was just like what we got here, and I just think that was so refreshing and so wonderful. And like I said, I don't think that there were plenty of opportunities for them to have all this distractions and interferences with previous matches, like I said, with the Judgment Day and the Demon Finn Balor match. And they didn't, and I thought that was wonderful. I did. I thought it was so refreshing for us just to kind of like have a real straight WrestleMania run match card. And some people didn't like the result because they felt like CM Punk was more of a full-timer than Roman. I do empathize with that. It was one of the things I didn't like about Roman Reigns' last reign with a bloodline, where we kind of like didn't really see him defend as much as when we did. It was just had this sort of like rinse and repeat kind of bloodline rules kind of thing, which I think got kind of old quite quick. We Apparently I didn't see the post show, but I heard that on the post show Roman said that he wasn't going to be part-time anymore. And I can only take out at face value, right? It's one of those things where we'll have to see how it goes. Similar to the Randy Orton and the Cody Rhodes stuff, I think that whether it's succeeds or fails depends on how they follow this up now. And I think it's the same here. I think if we do see a full-time Roman here, I'm all down for it. I really do. I just think it could be great. I do hope maybe there is some truth in the whole Roman and Gunther rumor mill, because I think that is definitely a solid booking for the future. Um, and yeah, like I said, I just thought it was wonderful. So all in all, I thought like this went a long way to, I don't want to say saving night one, because all in all, I did like night one, but I just felt the matches were what we got in the matches were quality, but I just thought there wasn't enough of it. The amount of just advertisements and the matches getting cut short and all of that really did taint it. Yeah, I think with night one, it wasn't really what we got. I thought was really good, but we just did not get enough of it. Whereas, and I think that this night went did right a lot of those wrongs. I think that there were still some pacing issues. I think that the whole, too many commercials and all that was still there, but I don't think it was nowhere near as bad as what we got in night one. I think that this was a solid night of WrestleMania. Yeah, so. And ultimately, also, when you judge this WrestleMania, you do have to judge it, the success and fail of it. You do have to look and go, well, what's gone down here? Has it got me pumped for Raw? Has it got me pumped for SmackDown? And the answer to those is hell yes, it absolutely has. I am really interested in seeing Raw now to see how they follow all this up. I'm really interested in seeing SmackDown, see how they follow it all up. So on that level, it's done its job as well. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, on the whole, guys, like I said, to kind of bring all of this around, I did like night one. Like I said, I just felt it was tainted by all the commercials and the matches getting cut short. What we did get, I thought was really good, but there was not enough of it. And like I said, I think this night went a long way to kind of rectifying a lot of that, to kind of like to kind of learning from those criticisms, I think. And yeah, so on the whole, guys, I've heard a lot of bashing on this online about this WrestleMania, but I did not think this WrestleMania was half bad. On the whole, I am giving this WrestleMania a thumbs up. I think there was a lot of good stuff here. So yeah, thank you guys for taking the time to watch this video. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more, don't forget to ring a bell for notifications. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Please feel free to let me know down in the comment section about what your own thoughts on this WrestleMania was. And yeah, as always, I will see you guys on the next video. You guys take care.